Network marketing success rate. Can you beat the odds? Hi, I'm Tim Sales. If we've not met, I've been in the network marketing industry for about 30 years. I've made many millions of dollars. I was interviewed by Larry King and Grant Cardone on the subject of network marketing, as well as I taught a certificate course at the University of Illinois at Chicago. And I take that knowledge and experience, and I'm breaking down the industry into understandable concepts. And so in this particular video, I'm going to be talking about the success rate, and then can you beat the odds? All right. So I was doing just to kind of give you some background here. I was doing another video, and it was about an article that was written in the Washington Post, and it had a link into a PDF. And I printed it out, I read it, I underlined a bunch of things, I tabbed a bunch of things, and I happened to know a data scientist. And I called him up and I said, hey, have you ever read this document? And he said, I have. All right. And so let me pause right there, and I want to just show you one of the numbers. He's a PhD, and he said that 95% of everybody in network marketing, okay, quit. 5%, I think he said break even or something like that, and 0.15% reach top income level. All right, and he calls it abysmal numbers. Somebody else in one of my other videos, he commented down below, and he said the reason people fail is because of mathematical certainty, because of a mathematical certainty. And so because of my relationship, I called this gentleman who's the data scientist, and I asked him, and he said, he goes, yeah, I know what it is. And he said, I'm not going to spoil it for you because I'm going to run a real quick clip here, but he wasn't, he was addressing this from a very scientific viewpoint, whereas I'm going to look at it from a different perspective, okay? And so I'm going to go ahead and run the clip now. I have a guest with me. His name is Ian Chandler, and we're going to go through back and forth through a document that someone wrote way back in 2000, and well, this says 2011, but I believe the actual one was like, I don't know,
maybe a decade before that, yeah. Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
So did a degree in, did an MBA, so focused from the University of Utah, studied very much on business, but I found a niche. Data and data science specifically became kind of my go-to strength and contribution in the business environment. And so through that—
Data science.
Data science. There's a scientific method to extracting valid data versus the art of giving BS data. And so you're taught how to get accurate data. You're taught what is the validity of data. You're taught about how to use the right tools when to assess the data, and it comes to any sort of a reasonable conclusion.
Can numbers lie?
It depends on what type of science you apply. If you are taking pseudoscience and pseudo data, which is snippets of the picture that fit the narrative you're trying to construe, well, it's Mark Twain, it's what he says. There's lies, there's damn lies, and there's statistics. You can make a stat tell any story you want, provided you hide or conceal or skew the definitions of the data you're looking for such that they're hidden behind the curtain. But if everyone is on the same page of what the definitions are, where the data is coming from, its reliability, its validity, etc., yes, there is a science to getting accuracy that would not be otherwise misconstrued. But oftentimes we see people take shortcuts. They have a narrative or an issue they're trying to push a lot more than they're trying to get to the truth. I have a strong concern when the first phrase that comes out of a PhD candidate, sir, with all due respect, I don't know who gave you your PhD, I should hope that they would be looking to rescind it based on the abysmal numbers that you've presented in the form of truth.
How do you feel about that?
How do I feel about that? Let me tell you how I feel about that, Tim.
Okay.
We're going to go through some of these numbers, and I'm telling you, I get fired up just because it's not only biased, it's ridiculously biased. you would take any statistician on the planet and try to read this with any amount of sobriety, and they couldn't make it through without either crying or laughing, crying on behalf of their profession and laughing at the fact that this man got a PhD.
Okay, so I think you can tell that he wasn't impressed. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to upload that entire interview in a week or two, and so you can see it. And all of you that are into math and into statistics and things like that, you can nerd out on him. Okay, so let me get into this a little bit. One of the statements that he said right at the very, very top, you can see the kind of the highlight there, is just do the math. The numbers don't lie. And then you heard what he had to say about that. Now, do me a favor. I've got just a concept to get you thinking. And that is how does Mr. Math, not any person, but math itself, how does Mr. Math decide if you are going to be a 95% person or a 5% person or a 0.15% person? Do me a favor and comment down below as you try to answer that question, all right? Do me that favor, okay? So now I'm going to show you all of kind of like my behaviors and like what I do and things like that in this. And so it's going to be very revealing as to what goes down here. I want to show you another statistic. Okay, it's a very similar number, and it's the weight loss success rate. Can you beat the odds? Obese people. This is an article. Obese people have slim chance of obtaining normal body weight, and obese is defined as a body mass index of 30. All right, and I'm not going to talk about women because me as a married man, I've learned that it's more comfortable here, okay? So, so the chances of success are 1 in 210. Probability of succeeding at losing weight is 0.47. So that's a half a person, okay? And the probability of losing is 99.53. So those statistics are very, very similar to what this gentleman has said. And so now I have a question for you. Like, how do you feel? How did that make you feel when it says have a slim chance? And then I show you how abysmal those statistics are. Like how, like what does it do for you? Does it cause you to kind of feel as though, wow, I just got punched in the nose. Like I had no idea that it was that hard, right? Kind of feel like a victim. Do comment down below because I want to come back and read it. Even if you're on, like wherever you're watching this from, please do comment. Well, in addition, it was a very large study. It was of 278,982 people, right? And just do the math. The numbers don't lie, right? And this is what the lady said who did the study. Once an adult becomes obese, it is very unlikely that they will return to a healthy body weight. And that was written also by a PhD. And that PhD thing, does it kind of cause you to feel as though that maybe they're smarter than you or something? Or that they know more than you do or something, right? So, and then of the half a person who does lose weight, 78% of that half a person regains the weight in 5 years. Okay, so again, do me a favor. How do you feel about the emphasis of all of this that was in this article, right? So in my experience, typically, you can spin statistics any way you want. And I feel as though that's really what they're trying to do with these statistics. They're trying to cause a person to feel as though they can't win. I don't know the agenda that's behind the person who wrote this. Typically when it's that big of a study and things like that, like there's a drug company that has commissioned it or something and they're coming out with a drug. And so once a person kind of feels as though that they're a victim, then they're more susceptible, right? It becomes a soft target, if you will. But I have a question. does the 210 people here get a vote? Do they get to vote and say, but wait a minute, I have a family that I love. And once you cross over into obesity, now it is a metabolic syndrome issue where you 10x your likelihoods of getting some of the horribles out there, right? And so you get a vote, right? And so I just don't understand sometimes when I see these things, this one or this one, as to why the person focuses on the 99.53. Why do they focus on that? Doesn't make any sense to me. Do you? Do you? Like, make any sense out of it? Do me a favor and comment. I question, why didn't they focus on the 0.47? Why didn't they go find out what the 0.47 did? Exploit that, come back, and so they can really help people instead of putting them feeling like victims. All right? So let me give you an example of that. So that's me, obese. That was in 2013. Okay, so my body mass index was right at 30. I was right on that borderline. And so any statistic, what you want to do is you want to go into the successful people and you want to pull it open, right? A statistic isn't good enough. You have to pull the statistic open and say, what were the subcomponents that created that? All right? So if you were to pull the 99.53, open that particular one up, because you kind of know that is what mainstream weight loss is all about. And the mainstream, which I call the wrong subcomponents because I did it and I didn't get a result from it. It's exercise 3 to 5 days a week, calories minus 500, whatever your basal metabolic rate is. Basal metabolic rate. Your protein, carbs, and fats, you just jockey them between 20 to 30%, between those percentages. That's the whole game, right? Well, that didn't work. Didn't work. And so because of my history before network marketing, I was in the bomb squad. I learned to look for variables. I looked for like what were all the components of something. It was one of my primary positions. And so I had to basically spend about 2 years to figure out what was going on. And I actually found 7, right? A whole lot different than calories and exercise, right? I found 7. Number 1, that belly is proof of damage. And so I should not be exercising. I've already got enough inflammation going on, and that exercise is just going to harm it. So that was number 1. Number 2 is that's proof that my hormones are all jacked up. And so I needed to fix them before this could even become a part. Next was protein. There was a very specific thing about that. Healthy fats, very specific about that. Hydration, gut repair, because I wasn't digesting stuff correctly, and so I wasn't actually getting good nutrition. And then sleep. Sleep was a big factor. And so then from that, in just 60 days from that, with no exercise, that's the next picture. And then that's almost a year later. And then now you're looking at it, whatever it is, 4 years later, something like that. And so I have maintained that position. So sometimes you have to figure out what are the subcomponents. And that's what I had to do, right? In this particular situation. If you have a situation to where someone has already figured out the subcomponents, and that is why it's so important to drill down into that 0.47. Find them. Who are you? What did you do, right? Like that would be the kind of a thing. Okay, and so it's somewhat what I did. My friends, a bunch of my friends started calling me all the time, and they'd be in a store and they'd say, like, Tim, can I have these? Can I get walnuts? Can I get this? Can I get that? And so I finally just said, I want to test it with other guys to make sure that it does work. And so I reached out and got about 36 of them once they saw what I was going to be doing, that their dates didn't work right on webinars. And so I was doing a webinar on Tuesday night and Thursday night. And I was tracking what was going on, how were they feeling, things like that. And so these are all 24 older men. And by the way, I'm 57. So 24 older men, the average weight loss in 60 days was 26.7 pounds. Okay, in 60 days. And I made them not exercise, all those kind of things. Some guys, you know, they lost over 30, 139. Some of them didn't need to lose that much weight, right? But the average was 26.7 pounds in 60 days. Now, if you look back here, statistically speaking, I would have needed to have 210 people in order to get one who got those results. Okay? You see that? And how long did that take for them to be able to do it? They didn't have to go through the 2 years of finding the variables or the subcomponents. They just implemented what I said, here, do this, right? And so that is the value of following somebody who knows the variables. And I'm going to give them to you, right? I'm going to give you the subcomponents in network marketing in just a few minutes. Okay, so that's one. It's weight loss. You say, well, what does that have to do with it? I just told you the piece of why it has to do with network marketing. And that is, just because a statistic is, it sounds all dreary and everything, I've never in my life looked at that stuff, okay, because I'm always going after winners. Average income of a stock day trader. 3 studies concluded 99% of all day traders fail. Here's the specifics. Research indicates that the average length of time between the opening and closing of a futures trading account is a little more than 3 months, and that when the account closes, most participants have lost all of their money. Kind of heard that before. Remember now, just do the math. Numbers don't lie. They misdirect is what they do. Well, this is my stock trading account. Okay, these are all of my trades that I did last year. This is January 1, 18, all the way through 19. Okay, so I made $95,115. This is an utter side hustle for me. It's just something that I learned a while ago, and I like to have it up while I'm doing Zoom calls and I'm doing meetings and things like that. And then this is the last 31 days, and I made $51,000 there. All right. So what are the subcomponents? Well, the subcomponents are knowing when to buy, right? There's a position. There's multiple places you might want to buy, but it's knowing where to buy, right? And then when to sell it. Those of you who trade stocks, yes, I know that is a very big subject. Both of those are, but those are the variables. And then number 3 is money management. You've got to know how much to go in and things like that, kind of like depending upon what you're investing or how much. And then number 4, and that was the rudest one for me to learn, which was humility. You've got to be willing to be wrong. If you're not willing to be wrong, you will be destroyed. Your whole account will go away. And it cost me $1.2 million because of that. I just knew it was going to turn back around. I just knew it. All the way down till the business went out of business. Okay? Exodus Communications, if you want to know the company. Okay. So number 5 variable was I had to have a warrior mentality. You see, I'm a very value add kind of a guy, and that ain't what they do there, right? It's kind of like, that cigar smoking guy that says, you ain't from around here, are you, son? Right? That was the feeling that I got because I didn't understand it. There is no product. Okay? Now, I know everybody says, but there's an underlying product. It's based upon a product. All right? Yeah, okay. But how people trade, let's say that this is Tesla. Tesla announced nothing, but yet there's 20 million shares traded in the day. Why? Right? No new news that, we're going to be able to sell more cars. No new news that we're going to miss our earnings. Nothing. Okay, so it's a sword fight. That's what I liken it to. It's a medieval sword fight. You step on the battlefield, one person is going to be killed and one person is going to win. If I make $1, I had to take it from somebody else. If I lose $1, somebody else won. That is the game. And if you play any other way, it doesn't work out in trading. Okay, so there are investors, and it's a different conversation. Okay, and there's no product sold. All right, there's nothing there. So when people talk about network marketing and there is no customer or there is no, are you kidding me? Right? Where's the customer between me and the guy I'm sword fighting? There is none. Okay, I never even meet him. It just all transacts over me pushing a button. Right? Education, that took me about 15 years to be able to do this. I probably spent about $10,000 in training, and I gained experience by losing. I really can't say I lost money because I made it in the stock market. So I made $1 million, and then I just got arrogant. All right. So that's but it still was an experience and why I cut my losses. Okay. So if I hadn't had 18 years of residual income and I was completely retired at that time, nobody knew my phone number, nobody knew my email address. If I didn't have that residual income, it saved my butt over and over and over again. And so there is a second scenario where the odds are almost 99% against you. But yet you can do it, right? And all that it is knowing what the subcomponents are. So now let me jump into network marketing. So this guy, PhD, 95% quit, 1.15% reached the top, okay? If 0.15%, if that's true, it would be mathematically, I can't say impossible, but almost. If I can do that twice, right? So my network marketing company that I was with for almost 24 years or something like that, it bought my business back from me, all right? And so then I joined another one and I reached the top income level. So how could you do it twice? If it's a mathematical certainty that only 0.15% reached the top, but I do it twice, right? Doesn't make any sense to me. And plus, just in the amount of time, 7 years, there's 57 millionaires on my team. Like that to me just doesn't mathematically equate with based upon what the person is saying. And so here it is kind of drawn out, is the only value of a statistic is why. Why this number? Why that number? What are the subcomponents that created the results? Mr. Math does not choose which side you are going to land on. You choose that. All right? And it's knowing the subcomponents and being willing to learn how to do each of the subcomponents. It's not enough to just know it. You got to do it. All right? So here's the subcomponents. And by the way, I had to come up with these as well. But any person who is in sales, who's had any kind of success, and it doesn't matter network marketing or anything, they may call this something different, but this is the prospect to rep or customer pipeline. This is it. Number one, generate leads. I didn't say how, I said generate leads. Contact a person. Okay, that could be text, it could be through social media, it could be any way. You set an appointment to see a presentation. I don't care what presentation, I don't care where the appointment is at. All right, so it could be a video, it could be you sitting in a coffee shop, could be you on a Zoom call, could be anything. And after that, follow up until you get a yes or a no. That's it. That's the game. That equals customers and reps. And so when somebody is anti-network marketing and they're out there screaming and yelling and beating a drum and they're generalizing every company into one, every product into one, I asked them, how many times did you do this? Were you willing to learn each of these steps? Somebody wants to make a 7-figure residual income. You got to get good at it. If you want to make $100,000 a year, you're going to have to get good at it. If you want to make a few $100s, well, then you could probably just keep throwing numbers at it and it would eventually work. But if you're going to really make a profession out of it, then that is what I've done. Okay? And so I want to talk to you real quick here about how elite teams are built. Being in the Navy Spec Ops, I learned this well. So here's the way it all works. And it doesn't matter if it's a sports team. It doesn't matter if it's Spec Ops in the military. You know all the subcomponents, and then you put a team member in there and you have them do the some base level. Okay? So let's, don't want to give you an example off track here. You just do some base number of them. Let's say it's push-ups or something like that in Spec Ops. And so you're going to have to be able to do at least 50 push-ups to even join the team. Okay, something like that. So there's a bare minimum, but everybody's got to meet that standard. Okay, and so let's say that is standard 1. All right, and then in this particular situation, I would say, okay, generate 1 lead. All right, contact that person. All right, set the appointment. Do the presentation. If you don't get a presentation out of it, do a second one, right? And I would keep on going until they got 1 to do the presentation, right? Okay, so that's going to be the standard. And now you raise the standard. Okay, now do 4. Okay, you raise the standard. And by continuing to raise the standard, that is how you create elite people. Sitting around, waving from a stage, saying, if I can do it, you can do it, is garbage. The game out in network marketing is, I will pretend to train you and you pretend to work and we'll blame the company, right? Like this is how you build a team. And anybody who's watching who's not in network marketing and you have been in the sales profession, you know this is right. Okay, it's just a lot of people in network marketing, they come in and they don't have any idea how to really establish a giant and build a giant organization. And so people are always asking me, Tim, what do you do when you sponsor somebody? Guess what? Start them, right? This is what you teach them. All right? Okay. So my entire philosophy across the network marketing spectrum is there is no such thing as a person who can't do network marketing successfully. Only someone unwilling to learn and get great at each of these steps. That's it. Okay? So, and what's the other side? What does average look like? All right. And this thing kind of hit me like a ton of bricks. Right now in America, 69% of Americans have less than $1,000 in savings. That's horrifying. Okay. That's what normal is. And normal is dangerous. You're 1 transmission away. Your transmission breaks. You're 1 water heater away. You're 1 illness away, right? That's ridiculous. And so people, I feel, need to understand the fundamentals because, for 30 years, I've had a residual income in network marketing. And so it is very worth building. And one of the things that the gentleman that I interview, he talks about statistically how long it takes to, say, get a PhD and then get a job that's going to pay you X amount, and how that time is condensed substantially in network marketing. This is savings account. This is retirement accounts. The average person down here, 60% of the population, is right around $30,000 to $40,000 in their retirement account. You're not going to live. You're not going to be able, you don't have enough money to live. All right? Like in that kind of scenario, because you need $1 million just to survive for 25 years in retirement at $20,000 a year. Okay? So it's worth looking at. And then this here, it's how many people, this is the PhDs, and this is the master's degrees, and about 320,000 of them are on food stamps. And then there's all the different things that they're doing now. Like 482,000 people are who have a PhD or a master's degree are customer service reps, and bartenders and things like that, 5,000 janitors who have a PhD. And so this is what we are looking at is average. We don't want that. It's a statistic, but it means something. It means we've got to figure out what this group is doing, right? And they own their own business. That's the bottom line, all right? So just in a summary, what I really was trying to get across to you is, number one, don't do what quitters do. Do not look at 95%. Don't look at 99%. Don't look at 99.84%. Don't look at any of that stuff. None of that matters. Only identify who's crushing it. Get after them, right? Earn the right for that person to train you. Find the subcomponents if they aren't already. If somebody's getting results, they probably know the subcomponents. Master the subcomponents, do the subcomponents until your goal is attained. Do me a favor, comment. I'd love to know your feedback on this content, the whole subject of it, and what you think. I'm Tim Sales.